Hi, and welcome back to the Drama-Free Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Jess Cording. So we're going to go on a little adventure today and talk about one of my favorite topics, tinned fish. And if you're like, as a dietitian, this is one of my top recommended foods to support brain health, great for cognitive function and mood, and it's a really easy protein source. So I'm really excited today to do a deep dive with Sara Kelly, who is the marketing manager at Season Brand. So just a little background about Sara. She's a seasoning marketing professional with 10 plus years of experience. She has so much information to share about the production of tinned fish and what you can use it for. She answers some of your questions that you shared with me about the safety of different aspects of it. You know, we talk about pregnant women eating tinned fish, all the stuff you guys wanted to know about. So Sara at Season, she oversees advertising, promotional and public relations initiatives, while also spearheading product innovation. And she tells us a little bit about that in the episode as well. So she brings their expertise in marketing combined with her deep appreciation for food and natural products, and talks a lot with us about just the company's mission and their sustaining the brand's legacy and just really bringing you guys a great quality product that has been around for over 100 years, which is really cool. And we talk a lot about not just the nutrition and how tinned fish is made, but, how to introduce it into your diet. Sometimes we see foods where, people will say, I know this thing is healthy, but I don't know if I'm going to like it. I don't know what to do with it. So we have you covered. So without further ado, let's get to today's episode.
Welcome to Drama-Free Healthy Living with Jess Cording. I'm your host, Jess Cording. I'm a registered dietitian, health coach, and author, and I'm here to help you streamline your wellness routine and establish a sane, more balanced relationship with food and fitness so you can reach your goals without losing your mind. On this podcast, we'll talk about nutrition, exercise, self-care, mindset, and more. I'll be bringing you interviews and expert insight on the topics that matter to your health and wellness. Sara, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I was really excited to talk to you today because my clients will tell you this, my listeners and audience, they will tell you I am obsessed with tinned fish. I am recommending it all the time. It's one of my favorite just nutrient-dense foods. I love it. So I'm excited to nerd out with you. But just love to know, I love a good origin story. How did you get into this field?
Yeah. So for me personally, I've always been interested in food and beverage. I started in hospitality out of college. And I ended up in actually a freeze-dried fruit company working for them doing marketing. I switched doing some real estate and went into actually the retail business for quite a while. But I always realized my passion and my love is for natural products, healthy living, healthy food. So actually I had a previous contact who knew about this position that was opening up. And I was lucky enough to join the company about 2.5 years ago. And I absolutely love what I do. I love being able to, share education about healthy living with our consumers. I love the passion that this brand brings. And like you said, tinned fish is trending so much right now that it's just a really fun time to be with the brand, especially a brand that has been in business for over 100 years. So that's basically how I got here, and I'm happy to be here.
Amazing. And, as marketing manager is your current title, right?
Yes.
And so what, for our listeners at home who might not know kind of what that entails, what are some of the things that you do for Season?
Yeah. So for us, we are a large company, but we're a small and mighty team. So for me, I really focus on all aspects of marketing in terms of digital, traditional, and that includes social media marketing, our website development, any product innovation that we're working on. So coming out with new categories. We also just did a brand refresh for our 100-plus-year-old brand. So we redesigned our logo, we redesigned our packaging. That included a lot of market research in terms of figuring out what our consumers' drivers of consumption are, what are their barriers, what are they really looking for in terms of a healthy product. So it really kind of encompasses all of those things in addition to, helping support our sales team and also our PR efforts as well.
Very cool. I'd love to hear your thoughts and sort of what, just from the brand perspective, why should people be including canned or tinned seafood in their diet?
Yeah. So to be honest with you, and I really say this from a personal standpoint, I never ate sardines, believe it or not, until I joined this company. I'm a seafood lover. I love canned tuna, but I just wasn't exposed to it growing up. And I think my experience is very similar to a lot of people's experience. In the United States, we're very familiar with canned tuna, but we're not as familiar with like sardines or mackerel. But the great thing about all of these products is that they're so full of omega-3s. They're low in mercury. They're rich in protein. So there's really so many reasons to consume them on a daily basis. You can throw them easily in a salad. You can put them on top of your sandwich. They're just so versatile, and they're great because they're shelf stable. And once you really learn how to prepare and how you can easily integrate these canned fishes into your diet and into the recipes that you already make, it just becomes second nature.
So, similarly, I didn't eat sardines till I was 31, because as an RD, like I knew about the benefits of tinned fish, but it just, it just wasn't, I don't know. I think I was just so used to tuna and salmon and just other fish that it just wasn't something about. But then when my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and I do talk about this in my second book, The Farewell Tour, I blew up my whole life to help take care of him and just be there. And the effect that it had on my physical health because of the stress was just insane. As a healthcare provider, you go into something like that thinking like, oh, I'll know what to do if my own loved one is ever dealing with a serious illness. And that was so wrong. I couldn't sleep. My immune system took such a nosedive. I was just exhausted and my brain just felt fried. And I found that I've started craving sardines, specifically sardines packed in olive oil. That was like, so I just wanted to eat it all the time. And I remember getting really curious. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Why do I want to eat this? And I thought about it like, okay, so what nutrients are in this food that I might be wanting? Like, that's how my brain tends to work as an RD. If I notice I'm craving something, and I was like, oh, right. It has omega-3s, it has vitamin D, B12, protein, all these things that when we're under stress, we really need to make sure we're getting enough of. And I remember kind of understanding why I needed it. It sort of just opened up this whole new way of thinking about food and stress management and health. And it was, and I've been a fan ever since.
Awesome. Well, I think what you said is so true too. The great thing about canned fish is that it's so easy. Like you said, if you're stressed and you're busy and you're running around, whatever's going on in your life, and for me personally, I always, obviously, actually, I have a ton of canned fish at home for obvious reasons, but it's so easy to just have in your cabinet, in your pantry. You come home after a long day at work or caring for someone, and you could just crack open a can, and a lot of our consumers eat it right out of the can. Sometimes they put it on crackers. Like I said, sometimes they'll throw it on top of a salad, but you don't have to worry about cooking. You get all that protein, and you don't have to worry about it going bad. You don't have to worry about, oh, I just bought chicken and I put it in the fridge, but I haven't been around for a few days and now it's not good. It's just always there when you need it. And it really is nature's best superfood.
Oh my gosh, it's so easy. Like when I'm going through busy phases in my life where just cooking needs to be simplified or meal preparation needs to be simplified, just having the tin fish in my cabinet is so helpful, just because there's so much you can do with it. And I know you guys sell a few varieties. I'd love to hear just sort of what some of the most popular ones are that you guys sell.
Yeah. So for us, our most popular is definitely our skinless and boneless sardines in olive oil. We sell those at Costco nationwide. All of our products are on Amazon, but definitely the skinless and boneless in olive oil for all the benefits that you just mentioned. We do also sell them in water. We sell them in tomato sauce, but we also do sell bone-in sardines for those who are looking for that extra dose of calcium. Really great. We sell anchovies. We have a couple SKUs of those. We sell bristling sardines as well, which are basically like a cold water fish. They're a little bit smaller and they're packed, in different types of layers. And we also do have mackerel, which is honestly, I refer to as the gateway fish. For me, I feel like mackerel is very mild in taste. And for those people who have had tuna, but they haven't really had sardines and they're like not really sure, I think mackerel is, I call it my gateway into trying different types of tinned fish. So we actually have a grilled mackerel and we sell it in olive oil in a can and in a jar. And it's just a beautiful fillet. You can really do anything you want with it. It looks great on a fish-cuterie board. That's actually my personal favorite. I love it. And we also just came out with yellowfin tuna in glass jars. That's a great product as well. So for us, we really run the gamut and we have something for everyone.
Amazing. I love that gateway fish. That's so brilliant. And my husband loves mackerel. It's so funny. he will like turn up his nose at sardines most of the time. But like if I bring him mackerel, it's gone in like a day. Like,
Yeah.
it's so good.
It's delicious.
I feel like it's a little milder than the sardines, as you were saying. So it's a little more approachable.
It's definitely more approachable. It's definitely more mild. I think it's just a nice substitute. And it also has, tons of protein, all the omegas. It has less mercury. So there's really no reason not to try it.
So something I came across when I was preparing for this and I was looking at your website, and I wanted to make sure I asked you about this because I actually didn't know, and I wanted to dig into this a little. But okay, so if we're talking sardines, okay, what's the difference between a herring, a kipper, and is it a sprat? I would love to just get into that for a moment.
Yeah. So kippers really are actually herrings. So it's a boneless herring fillet,
Okay.
skinless and boneless. And then the sprats or bristling sardines, they're very similar. Sprats can be a little bit smaller, but they're generally, again, a cold water fish. They can be packed in like 1 layer, 2 layers. They can be cross packed. So depending on how they're packed, it just determines the size of what they are. But they do have the skin and the bones. Ours actually come from Latvia, but they're an excellent product, totally delicious, maybe a little bit more for the experienced sardine eater. They're lightly smoked. They have a great little mild smoke flavor. So again, great for topping on toast or anything like that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I learn something new every day.
Of course.
I also wanted to ask you so a question I get a lot from clients is just like, how are these products made? Like what is the production like from this being a fish swimming around to being in a product on your shelf? Like, can you walk us through a little bit how that works?
Yeah. And I think it's especially interesting for the skinless and boneless sardines because we fish, we get the sardines, and when they're delivered to the production facility, they're actually hand filleted and hand skinned so that there's women that are behind the scenes. And that's actually what really inspired our Maiden logo, that really do this for a living. And they do it so perfectly and so delicately. And Morocco is the only country that they actually take the time to deskin and debone these fillets. So after they're pressure cooked, they're deskinned, they're deboned, they're placed in the can, they go through a sterilizing procedure, and then they're packaged. So it's really a very detailed process in terms of making sure, all the bones are removed, everything looks beautiful, and all the sardines are actually placed really nice in terms of firm fillets, so that when you open the can, you really get those nice, beautiful fillets of fish, not just like chunks that are put in there. For lack of a better way of putting it.
That is such a great way to describe that. No, and that thank you for sharing. That's really cool. Something else that I get asked about a lot, and I spend a lot of my time in the oncology world, so this was quite like I get a lot of questions about things like environmental concerns, and when I say environmental, I mean more like things in our environment that may contribute to disease risk. And I did get a few questions ahead of this episode, people wanting to know, like, should they be concerned about the metals or other materials used to make these products? Or is there anything that they should know about that the company does to help mitigate any of those concerns?
Absolutely. So for us, especially in terms of like smaller fish, the sardines, the mackerels, the anchovies, because they're small, they're actually living for a shorter period of time than a larger fish like a tuna. So that's why there's so much less mercury in those fish. They're not ingesting other types of fish. They're eating more of like a plankton sort of diet. So that's why they're so low in mercury, and we don't have to worry about that. In terms of our packaging, all of our cans are BPA free. And then obviously some of our products are packed in glass as well. So we always make sure that everything's packed to the highest quality standards. All of our products are certified sustainable by Friend of the Sea. Some of them are MSC, depending on where they're caught in the ocean, non-GMO, obviously certified gluten-free. So we really have full product transparency across all of our products.
That's so important. That's really great. Now, you mentioned that Season has been around for over 100 years. Like, what else sets them apart from some other canned seafood or tin seafood brands that are out there?
Yeah, I think for us, just the fact that we have that full transparency. I don't know of any other brand that has it from A to Z like we do, in terms of all those certifications to make sure, what we put out, we can really stand behind. And I think, again, to your point, the fact that we've been in business for over 100 years really stands behind that legacy. And also just the fact that we can really be proud of the quality that we put out into the marketplace. but we also are very accessible. So for us, we're able to be in all classes of trade. We're in your local Walmart store, we're on Amazon, we're in club stores, but yet any consumer that picks us up knows Season stands for quality, and they can rest assured that when they have our products, they know that they're having something healthy and they're having something that's been, inspected and placed delicately in the can. And when they open it up, they can really expect a treat from us.
So one other question that I also got a few of this question, and I think you touched on this a little bit with the lower mercury content. But, I get asked often, is it okay for pregnant women to be eating tinned fish? And, what do you want people to know about that?
Absolutely. So I think, and of course you can speak to this more so than I can, but pregnant women typically do not eat enough fish. And really they're kind of missing out on all those omega-3s, all the, clean protein. And because again, sardines and mackerel and all these types of smaller fish are so, so low in mercury, if they even have it at all, it makes total sense for pregnant women to have them and enjoy them.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely, because again, especially because they're lower mercury, like they're a great alternative. If we're talking about like sardines and such, and some, like you were saying, the other smaller fish, as opposed to if someone's used to eating tuna as their main tin fish, like I found it's such a great way to add variety. And especially if someone's really tired and they don't have energy to be cooking during pregnancy, especially that first trimester.
Right.
Honestly, with my clients, it's been like all throughout. Like there's really no one who's like, yeah, everything feels great. I have tons of energy to cook and do all these things. Like everyone's like, I'm tired. But yeah, I found that the tin fish is such a convenient thing. And it's great that in terms of reducing food waste and like some of the stress that comes with that, especially because food is so expensive these days. Like something people ask me sometimes, and I know that one can look at a can and see like, okay, this is expiration date, but just in general, like how long is the typical shelf life for products like these?
It's approximately 4 years. Sometimes it'll depend on the exact species. It'll depend on whether it's packed in olive oil or in water. But with a 3 to 4 year shelf life, I mean, you really don't have to worry too much about, not eating it in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I remember back in the early days of lockdown when that it was just so wild to see that like for the first time ever, the tinned fish section of the store shelves were like bare. Everybody was stocking up, myself included, but that's me all the time.
And it was a blessing and a curse for us because we were so happy that people were rediscovering tinned fish, but then also we had to get our rears in gear, so to speak, just to make sure we can supply everyone. So,
oh my gosh. Well, one weird silver lining, and I did have a few people share this with me that I've worked with in the years since 2020 is just it did open up some people's palates to some new foods. And I would love to hear from your perspective. If somebody is kind of new to this tinned fish world, they're like, I heard this is healthy, or like I have all this COVID fish and my both might not be good anymore if it's from 2020. But like I have all this COVID fish in my pantry, like, and I need to use it this month. Like, what are some of your favorite ways that you would encourage somebody to start experimenting? And I also want to hear about this fish-cuterie board that you mentioned. That's very intriguing to me.
Yeah, definitely. So, for me, like I said, I was not a sardine eater prior to working for this company, but I really just started putting them on my salads that I would have for lunch, just super easy. And I think when you have them with something else and you're trying them for the first time, it really helps to kind of like ease into that. Also, having them on avocado toast, you can put sardines and mackerel on pizza. I mean, really, any way that you would use tuna, you can use sardines. So I think it's just a matter of like working in those little swaps. And I really like what you said about adding variety to your diet because we love tuna. Like I said, we actually just came out with a really delicious yellowfin tuna product, but it's nice to swap in and out, especially because of the lower amounts of mercury, the high omegas. So it's just nice to have that variety.
Yeah, cheers to that. I mean, if it's so easy, I've found with when someone is trying to quote unquote eat healthy, right? And it is so easy to get stuck in this narrow window of thinking they have to stick to only a few foods. And it's so easy to get bored. I see it all the time.
Yep.
Anything we can do to add variety that's also helping support, great brain function and meeting our nutrient needs. That's a win.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the tin fish board. So that was actually a really fun idea that came out of TikTok. There's tin fish date night that's coming out. So there's trends of people putting together like fish-cuterie boards. So they might, instead of doing like a charcuterie board or a cheese board, why not tin fish, right? So they have like sardines in there, mackerel, anchovies, but then also the normal like mustards and hummus and, red peppers in there. So you can kind of just make a plate with crackers And it's just a really fun way to eat tinned fish. So that could be another great way for those who haven't experimented too much with sardines or mackerel to give it a try and just have fun with it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to have to try that. That sounds pretty cool. I like it.
It's fun.
Fish-cuterie
I actually just
boards.
did that with mackerel last night for dinner. My husband got home late. I got home late. We both kind of went our separate ways. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to crack open a can of mackerel. I'm going to throw down some crackers, some hummus, some veggies. And honestly, it hit the spot.
That sounds awesome. I'm going to have to try that soon. I like that.
Yeah,
The less cooking, the better.
exactly.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this with us. I've really enjoyed this conversation. If people want to learn more about Season, check out their products, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can definitely go on seasonproducts.com and they can follow us on Instagram. We're at Season Brand Official.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to link to all this stuff in the show notes too.
Awesome. Perfect.
And my last question for you today, Sara, and I ask all my guests this because I just love how many different ways there are to answer this question, is what does healthy living mean to you?
I think for me, it means, being balanced and not just in terms of diet, just being balanced in terms of getting the exercise that feels good to you at that point in your life, eating the foods that your body's craving in a nutritious, way. I think allowing yourself to indulge from time to time. And I think just not forcing yourself into buckets just because this is the latest trend or, that's the healthiest thing. Just eating something because you know that it's generally good for you, it's healthy and you enjoy it and it's easy. I think if something's easy, then you're more likely to do it. So I think it's really just all about something that's easy and balanced.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being a guest today on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful.
Yeah, and for all you guys who are out there listening, obviously check out Season. And just a reminder, as your friendly neighborhood dietitian here on the internet, obviously this is meant for educational purposes, not prescriptive. If you have not meant to be a replacement for a consult with a medical doctor or registered dietitian as your practitioner. But if you guys like what you hear, please share this episode, screenshot yourself listening to it, maybe tag me on Instagram, can tag Season. As always, guys, thank you for joining today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to Drama-Free Healthy Living with Jess Cording. We'll see you next time.